On this Thursday night, the ongoing search for survivors. After devastating flash floods wiped out communities along the Nepal-Tibet border, the grief and desperation, including here in Canada,
extremely painful to process it.
As hundreds from around the world are dead or missing. The U.S. president brazenly renames one of the Great Lakes shared with Ontario.
Effective immediately to Lake America.
As questions linger around what Canada is sparing from retaliation in Donald Trump's trade war. Canada's brain game, how the federal government is poaching some of the world's top researchers from south of the border. And the trailblazer who changed the art world one dot at a time. The vibrant vision of Yayoi Kusama.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Jackson Prosco.
Hi there, and thanks for joining us. We will have the very latest on the disaster in Nepal in just a moment, but we want to begin with the stunning action by the American president that has angered so many Canadians. Earlier today, Donald Trump signed an executive order renaming Lake Ontario to Lake America and escalating his feud with Ottawa in the process. Of course, Trump can't force Canada to follow suit, and Prime Minister Mark Carney took to social media to teach Trump a little history, reminding the president that the name Ontario has Indigenous roots and is more than 400 years old, predating both the Confederation of Canada and the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. Mackenzie Gray reports on Trump's symbolic move, which came as both sides seemed to make small concessions in the trade dispute.
Thank you very much.
It's government by meme.
We're going to be changing the name of Lake Ontario, effective immediately to Lake America.
The latest trolling from Donald Trump via executive order served alongside renewed attacks.
Who's the worst to deal with on trade? And I said, that's easy. Canada. They are the worst to trade. And they feel entitled, and just we can't have that.
The province of Ontario was named after the lake 159 years ago, a name that won't change in Canada.
You know when like a rock band is really over the hill and you see them like in a casino playing some song from like 50 years ago? I think that's the part of Donald Trump's presidency we're at now. Like he thought he had a real hit, a real golden oldie with the Gulf of Mexico, and he's trying to bring back that.
The renaming a new low in the trade war, which the Commerce Secretary claims the Canadian side has lied about for political reasons.
There's the Sovereignty Party trying to run, and they're in the lead in Quebec. And so this was Mark Carney manufacturing something that would try to keep them from winning.
Sources have told Global News Howard Lutnick's last-second involvement in the talks helped kill a deal, but he strongly denies Canadian cultural issues were to blame.
If you think I ever said the words French, do I care about how the Quebecois speak? I mean, what could matter less to America? We don't care.
That signal from the Trump administration leaving the Canada-U.S. trade minister pleased, saying the U.S. has now reversed its position on French labeling and discoverability of French content on streaming services. Just hours before, Canada made major changes to counter-tariffs that had been announced just 2 days earlier. 254 seafood items, including fish, dropped entirely. The finance minister's office saying it was because Canada had tariffed an industry the U.S. hadn't, but the industry minister had another line.
We heard a lot from many businesses in Atlantic Canada that it was important for us to adjust.
The latest executive order, signed in Sharpie, makes selling any future deal that much harder for Mark Carney, Jackson, who's already said any agreement with the U.S. would have been signed in pencil.
Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa, thanks. The seafood industry on both sides of the border is breathing a sigh of relief now that American seafood is off that list of Canadian counter-tariffs. Heidi Petracek reports on how the reversal happened and whether there could be political fallout from the backtrack.
And that's why we said if we need to update the list, we do it.
The federal finance minister said Ottawa listened to concerns from the seafood industry and responded by removing American fish and seafood from its long list of counter-tariffs. On the East Coast, where the lobster industry alone is worth billions and employs tens of thousands, it's good news.
So to say we have a relieved, much more relaxed sector today than we did yesterday is the understatement.
Large volumes of American lobster are exported to Atlantic Canada to be processed and sent back. 25% tariffs would have had ripple effects on both sides. Now that there's a reprieve, the association representing harvesters in Maine is urging both governments to continue protecting the long-standing tariff-free trade in lobster. Maritime premiers are also relieved. The premiers of both Nova Scotia and New Brunswick have released statements saying they're pleased that the seafood counter-tariffs were removed from the list and that they still support Prime Minister Mark Carney's approach.
Better change that now.
One trade expert says it's clear industry pressure forced the federal government to reverse course.
Now we've seen not only seafood being taken away, but other tariff lines being added, adding industries that have been suffering from U.S. tariffs rather than picking industries that have been spared by.
If targeting American seafood was meant to put political pressure on northeastern swing states before the U.S. midterms, there are still other items on the list, like wood products, that would impact states like Maine.
I think this was an acknowledgement of the fact that we want to do this in a way that has a political impact and has a political impact in a state that's strategically important, but doesn't have these blowback effects.
As for seafood, stakeholders aren't resting easy.
We have no trade agreement, no firm way forward.
In uncertain trade times, both sides know how quickly seas can change. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Eastern Passage, Nova Scotia.
Now to the situation in Nepal and Tibet, which is growing more dire by the hour. Since yesterday's glacial collapse and flash flood, the number of missing has risen to more than 1,300, while at least 389 people are confirmed dead. Among those unaccounted for are at least 30 Canadian citizens and permanent residents, along with hundreds of other tourists who were swept away by a wall of mud and debris. And tonight there's concern about the risk of another flash flood. Redmond Shannon reports.
Villages changed forever. An unimaginable cleanup begins alongside the arduous rescue and recovery missions, hampered by blocked roads and difficult terrain.
There will be a hazard of things falling down. So the rescue effort is going to be just a very difficult operation.
Families register the names of loved ones missing, hoping for news. This woman fears her husband is not coming home. More videos are emerging of the terrifying flood, including from this dam construction site. A man who lives on a hillside down the valley told Global News he first heard a rumble 10 minutes before the wave appeared.
We saw the flood where all the villages are flowed away.
Tassi Sandhu Tamang says he immediately called his sister and family who live upriver.
No one connect, no one in contact. So we are very sad.
These three-dimensional satellite images show the mountainside before and after what scientists say was a massive glacier collapse that triggered the flash flood. Other images show a newly formed lake at the site. Authorities fear it and another lake could overflow or burst and cause more flooding. 36 hours after the disaster, rescuers on the Chinese side of the border had yet to reach the worst-hit areas, including the obliterated border post. Just like in Nepal, Beijing says a large proportion of those listed as missing are foreign citizens, many of them believed to be pilgrims. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
Now to those missing Canadians. Global Affairs Canada says their whereabouts and well-being are still unknown, and the number of missing may still change. Communication remains difficult, leading to an agonizing wait for their families and for those in Canada's Nepalese and Tibetan communities who can't reach home. Jillian Piper has more.
Overwhelming grief as the spiritual group in Nepal learns roughly 80 of their members were swept away in the floods.
This is a terrible and an extraordinary event.
Weeping for their local and international friends.
22 are from United States, 12 from Canada.
Ottawa acknowledges the number of missing Canadians will likely grow, with recovery efforts still underway and communication sparse.
I have never called to someone like this many times.
Kagendra Kandel is desperately trying to contact his friends, but has only reached 4 so far.
11 of them, they are still missing, and we don't know if they are safe or not. We are losing hope on them.
So it was extremely painful to process it.
In Ottawa, Ajay Bista cannot get the videos of the disaster out of his mind.
People trying to run, and they literally seem like ants, just, trying to save their lives and being washed away.
Bista grew up in Nepal and his family is still there. Thankfully, they are safe, but his heart aches for those who are not so lucky.
We'll have chantings for peace for the world and peace for the people who lost their lives, the soul.
The Canadian government says it stands ready to help and is sending 5 additional consular officials on the ground.
The Canadian government has been always supportive in disaster relief.
Bista contributing in his own ways, planning to travel back to his home country in October and gathering donations for relief efforts, putting up nearly $1,000 himself so far.
Decades of hard work has been washed away, and then I don't know how long it's going to take to recover.
He hopes Canadians like him will keep Nepal in their thoughts and prayers. Jillian Piper, Global News, Ottawa.
People in Quebec are heading to the polls in a provincial election. Premier Christine Frechette triggered the start of campaigning today. Her party is seeking a third mandate, but will face challenges from 4 main opposition parties. The trade war with the U.S., healthcare, and the housing crisis are among the top issues. Voters will cast their ballots October 5th. Toronto police are investigating an arson at the home of Liberal MP Salima Zahid. Global News obtained this security footage showing a suspect lighting several vehicles on fire in Zahid's Scarborough driveway early this morning. Zahid, who has been an MP for over a decade, calls the attack unacceptable and says it will not deter her from her political work.
The way it is done, it's very clear that someone is trying to target. So I'm really concerned about the security and safety of my family and my staff and everybody.
Police haven't said whether they believe the attack was targeted. Prime Minister Mark Carney is expressing relief that Zahid and her family are safe and calls it a cowardly act of violence. In the U.S., 2 air traffic controllers at New York's LaGuardia Airport are reportedly being fired, accused of leaving work early the night an Air Canada jet crashed into a fire truck on the runway. The Wall Street Journal reports the controllers are believed to have left work about an hour early, leaving just 1 person in the tower with no backup. The crash killed the 2 pilots and severely injured a flight attendant. Investigators still haven't determined what role tower staffing may have played in the accident. A golf equipment company's commercial controversy. Coming up, the ad that critics say is promoting violence against women. Ratko Mladic, the notorious Bosnian Serb general, has died while serving a life sentence for war crimes. Dubbed the Butcher of Bosnia, Mladic commanded forces responsible for the 1995 Srebrenica massacre, the deadliest in Europe since the Second World War. More than 8,000 Muslim boys and men were killed. The governing body of European soccer is preparing a criminal complaint against FIFA president Gianni Infantino. UEFA filed requests in court today, seeking evidence from FIFA and from Thrive Capital, which was founded by the brother of U.S. President Donald Trump's son-in-law. In July, Infantino announced Thrive would pay $4.2 billion for a 20% stake in FIFA's commercial events, including the World Cup. UEFA alleges the $4 billion offer could be a fraudulently off-market price promoted by Infantino for his own benefit. There's big news in the golf world tonight. Callaway, one of golf's biggest equipment makers, has parted ways with Good Golf, one of the sport's most influential online platforms. As Candace Cole reports, it follows major backlash over a controversial ad.
Callaway has severed ties with Good Golf effective immediately over this ad critics say promotes violence against women, which Callaway initially signed off on.
Do not touch my new driver.
In the statement posted late Thursday afternoon, Callaway said they've reflected on the hurt and disappointment caused by the video. They said unequivocally violence against women is unacceptable and that its content review process was not comprehensive enough.
This is not
at all what we stand for.
Good Golf co-founder Garrett Clark offered this 8-minute apology on X, where he tried to clarify the vision behind the ad, meant to be a spin-off of the movie Obsession, where Clark is trying to stop Alexis, the woman in the ad, from becoming obsessed with the driver.
Once I watched it back and it got posted, my skin was crawling. I was cringing. I thought it was the worst ad known to man.
But that didn't stop major retailers like Dick's Sporting Goods, Golf Galaxy, and the PGA Tour Superstore from pulling Good merchandise from their shelves.
I get that it was supposed to be a parody, but you really have to think about the audience that you're talking to. And right now, women in golf are really important.
Angel Waldron is an advocate for women who play the sport. She says this misstep is an opportunity to highlight the need for greater representation of women golfers.
I would hope more so than pulling products, that this would be an opportunity for us to learn and grow.
Clark responded to Callaway's statement, thanking them for their years of supporting the Good Golf brand. Callaway says it will donate $1 million to organizations working to prevent violence against women. Candace Cole, Global News, Washington.
Ahead, brain gain, how Canada is hoping to attract top talent from the U.S. Canada is ramping up efforts to attract some of the world's top researchers while also bringing Canadian talent back home. Today, the federal government shared details about the people newly recruited to universities and institutions across the country. As Sarah MacDonald reports, most of that talent is coming from the U.S.
Right here, everybody.
The federal government is playing the long game in the trade war with the United States, going after some of America's most valuable assets that can't be taxed.
While certain countries are cutting research and turning their back on academic freedom, we're doubling down on science.
64 of the sharpest minds in the world, professors, scientists, and academics, tapped as the first wave of research chairs at top Canadian universities, part of a federal program announced last year. 4 dozen scholars lured from American soil, with hundreds of millions of dollars in funding for homegrown innovation.
So why leave Harvard and MIT? Honestly, it's because of what's here.
Dr. Peter Caravan, one of the Canadian expats, bringing his expertise back to UBC. Another big get, internationally renowned astrophysicist Sarah Seeger, recruited to the University of Toronto.
And I want to be direct about something. This isn't only a scientific bet, it's an economic one. Every molecule that we invent is intellectual property.
UBC is receiving the lion's share of those research chairs, 9 of them, with McGill and U of T both receiving 6 and others dispersed across the country. Each chair receives $1 million a year for the next 8 years, with one clear mission: to help create Canadian autonomy through academia.
Canada's leading universities are fully mobilized to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow.
Canada's biggest challenge today, tariffs, front and center with the timing and tone of Thursday's announcement.
Do you expect a response from the president?
We're doing it for us, guys. There's no plan B.
Building at home and diversifying our trade, that's our plan A. That has always been our plan A.
As Ottawa looks to set up a strong strategic offense intellectually, poaching top talent from the Ivy Leagues and beyond. Sarah MacDonald, Global News, Vancouver.
Next, remembering the avant-garde artist saved by her own work.
Time. One shall stand, one shall fall.
Well, that's the distinct voice of Canadian actor Peter Cullen, the Autobot hero Optimus Prime, a role he played for more than 40 years in the Transformers franchise, from its days as a kids' cartoon to its blockbuster movie adaptations. Cullen died at his home in Los Angeles Wednesday. He was 85 years old. The Montreal-born Emmy winner also played Eeyore in the Winnie the Pooh franchise. She once said that art saved her life. Over the decades, Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama used painting and sculpture to overcome severe mental health challenges. Her death at age 97 was announced today, and as Eric Sorensen reports, she left the world with a much deeper understanding of the diversity of the human mind.
This month in Cologne, Germany, they just kept coming to see Yayoi Kusama's remarkable exhibition. Her work among the most recognizable in modern art. Big and bright, repetitive images, and a lot of dots and worms and pumpkins. Museum Ludwig broke records for visitors.
The exhibition is at the same time entertaining and touching, and that's very rare.
Kusama had a rare gift. Furiously painting polka dots helped her cope with childhood hallucinations. Her art was both minimalist and pop, perfectly timed when the two movements came to the fore, making her a hit on New York's 1960s art scene. Since my childhood, she says, polka dots and infinity nets have been themes of my art. She had mental health issues in the 70s, lived in a hospital for decades, yet she continued to produce art and traveled and only saw her popularity grow. She took to wearing a red wig. Often models of Kusama herself were on display. Every day, she said, I try to bring love into humanity. In 2018, she exhibited infinity mirrors at the Art Gallery of Ontario, rooms you could get lost in. Mirrors gave a sense of vastness. Only a few could experience it at a time, yet it drew 169,000 visitors.
It was outrageously successful. It connects to people's desire to be part of something bigger, and that a space where you can see forever makes you feel that way.
With the help of donations, the gallery acquired one of Kusama's infinity rooms, now on permanent display.
She's really a globally important artist, and I think in 100 years, this will still be one of the most important works in the AGO's collection.
The Kusama Museum said she painted until her final days. She was diminutive, but like her art, was larger than life. She died at age 97.
And that is Global National for this Thursday. I'm Jackson Prosco. Tonight's Your Canada features some stunning wildlife photos captured by Canadian Geographic's Wildlife Photographer of the Year. David Sturge from Paradise, Newfoundland and Labrador beat out more than 10,000 other entries with some truly stunning pictures. Congratulations, David. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow.